right, just showing the Canon Powershot G15 here. I recently took this little camera out on a trip, and I had the GoPro Hero 3. I also had the Sony RX100, the Canon S110, and the G15 here. And really the only camera I was using most of the time was the G15. A lot of fun to travel with. You don't have to worry about carrying or swapping lenses around. And I didn't really feel too far from missing my DSLR. Pretty much had most of what I needed here, especially when you're traveling. You want to go light. But one of the fun things about the G15 that the RX100 did not do, or the S110, is time lapse. So this camera, the first thing I did was set it up in manual mode and use this old Aperture Remote here, and just set the shutter speed and aperture and did a little time lapse. So I'll show you that right now. Okay, and so the next thing that I did was I chose the HDR mode. Now, the camera in HDR mode is, when you activate the shutter, it will take 3 images at different exposures and automatically stitch it into one image. So what I did was I just had the intervalometer here, the timer remote, set to fire the camera as often as possible. And it took about 4 seconds for the camera to take 3 images, stitch them together, and save it as a JPEG. So it was almost like having a 4-second intervalometer happening through this camera. And using the HDR mode built into the camera gave me images that had more detail in the shadows, and kind of kept down some of the highlights because of all the different exposures. So that was kind of fun. Nice feature inside the G15. So it's simple to get some decent looking time lapses from just your travel vacation. So I'll show you that right now. Okay, so if you're planning to time lapse with the G15, I highly suggest getting the Carry Speed MagFilter system. What this allows you to do is add filters to this camera, because natively it doesn't have the threads for you to add filters. The Carry Speed MagFilter system accepts filters onto the adapter. So this is the adapter on the back, and here I have 2 ND filters stacked. So this is an ND4 and an ND8, and there's a metal ring that adheres to the front of the lens. As you can see, I could still close the camera, and that metal ring is still there. There are magnets built inside this filter. There's no magnets here. Magnets are in this filter. There you go. I've just added 2 ND filters stacked on top of the G15. Now that gave me really slow shutter speeds when I was, trying to slow down like the water, or something like that, where I was trying to capture motion blur. I was able to stack ND filters onto the G15. Outside of that, I have another adapter here, and this one is a CPL. So it's a circular polarizer, and that was really great for working with the clouds, the sky, the water, things where you're dealing with a lot of glare or polarized light. So highly suggest looking into the MagFilter system from Carry Speed. This is the same stuff I'm using on the Sony RX100 or other small point and shoot cameras where you can't add filters. Now you can. So if you wanted to take a look at what that is, I'm going to take this CPL off. So this is basically what the Carry Speed adapter is. This is the threaded adapter. You can use any glass you want. There's magnets inside of this filter system here. And this one supports I believe a 58mm thread. So this is a 58mm thread. And this adapter I have here is supporting 55mm threads. So I have 2 different adapters, but the base is the same for all of them. And that's why I could just kind of swap them in and out. But highly suggest these things. These are the Carry Speed MagFilter systems. It'll really help you guys out if you're trying to add ND filters or CPL filters to basic point and shoot cameras, and you're really going to improve the image quality coming out of there. All right, so if you want to know, this is the Aperture Remote. I think they fall under different names, but they all look kind of the same. There's no on and off switch on this guy. So what you do is you just pull the battery out, you rotate it, and you put it back in. You see it's powered off. And then if you want to put it back on, just swap the battery over, put it back in. You'll notice it goes on. Not really a big deal, but a lot of people complain about not having an official on and off switch. I really don't mind. It doesn't take any longer than tying your shoe, so I don't really know what people have a lot to complain about. And this remote often found for around $20. And I've had this one. I first purchased it for a Canon T2i. It works for a T3i and T4i, 60D also. I've used it on a Canon G12 and now here with the G15. So I've had this thing for years. I've never replaced a battery. I don't do a lot of time lapses, but you know, the thing's been working for me great ever since. So if you guys want to know how to set up the intervalometer on this particular remote, this first indicator here, this timer, is really just how long do you want it to wait before it actually starts the intervalometer process. So, you know, you could say start in an hour, start in 10 minutes, start 0 means just start right away. Go on to the next mode. That's the actual intervalometer there. So here on the side, the jog dial, you'd press this in, and I could say 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever. And that's how long it would take to, in between firing off the shutter. We'll go to the next mode. Now this is supposed to be an infinity symbol, and if you set this to 0, then the intervalometer will work pretty much forever. If you want, you could say only take 100 pictures or only take 50 pictures. That's where you would set it in here. But if you just wanted to continuously take pictures, leave it on 00. The next mode here is kind of like this burst mode of how many pictures to take. You could set that as well, but I don't use any of those features. I really only use this to just as kind of a timer remote. So going back, we go to the intervalometer here. You just hit start and you'll see it count down, and every time it hits 0, it's going to take a picture, and then it just keeps cycling over and over. And I'm just going to hit stop. Okay, so this is the Canon Powershot G15. Hopefully you guys enjoyed some of those time-lapse samples. Again, those were just JPEG shot right out of the camera and then you know, thrown into a timeline. The G15 does do raw images, so you can get better quality out of this camera if you really wanted to. But as you can see, this is a reference. This is a T4i here, which is one of my smaller Canon bodies, and a lens that'll give me about the same distance or focal range as this one. And you see, when you're traveling on vacation, you just want to go light. Something like this will benefit you. It still gives you the option for a hot shoe if you wanted to do some flash photography. Also, again, it has the shutter remote if you want to do some time-lapse type stuff. There are some fun features built inside this camera, like the HDR mode. It only saves in JPEG, but that's pretty fun as well. You could expand on the G15. There are other options where you can remove this ring, and then you can add in other kind of adapters, lenses, get a little bit more out of the G15. So definitely a fun camera, not too expensive compared to something like the RX100, and still gives you a lot of features to work with when you're traveling. I really didn't feel too limited with this camera running about, so highly recommend it. It's a great camera.